Today in our 2006 Dodge Ram, we're going to take a look at and also show you how to install the Air Lift LoadLifter 5000 Ultimate Air Helper Springs with internal jounce bumpers. These are for the rear axle. Part number is AL88257. We want to start by taking a couple of measurements inside of our front and rear fender well here. This is going to give us our factory ride height, so we'll know right where we want to get back to after our installation. Looks like we've got about 38.5 here at the rear. We're about 36.75 here in the front. Now we're going to lower a trailer down on it just to get some tongue weight on the back of the truck and watch how it squats. You'll see quite a bit of difference here in the wheel wells now. Looks like we're down to about 37. So we've lost 1.5 inches here in the rear. Here in the front, we're up about 1/2 inch to 37.25. Now what this is doing with the load like this, it's bringing the rear of our truck down. That's going to bring the front of our truck up. That changes our alignment angles. It's going to give us different steering feel. It's going to give us different feel while braking. And also our headlight beams are going to be tilted upward. Now by changing that alignment angle in the front, we're going to change the way our tires are pushed down onto the ground, which can give us excess tire wear. Now here in the rear of the truck, that excess pressure is going to cause premature fatigue and failure of our rear suspension system. Now after we've installed our airbags, we've hooked our trailer back up, putting that same weight back down on the rear of the vehicle. The system has 22 pounds of air in it at this point, and we're right back where we started. We're right back at 38.5 inches here in the back, 36.75 in there in the front. And what this means is that our airbags are taking all that excess load. Rather than putting it all down on our rear suspension, our airbags are taking up that slack. That's going to reduce the friction that we get in our leaf springs, which can cause to premature failure. Here at the front, bringing that front end back down, it's going to level our headlight beam, so we'll be pointed right where we want, but it does a lot of good things for the front end as well. We're getting the weight back down on those tires, so our braking, our handling, that's all going to remain the same. Our alignment angles are right back where they started, so we're going to get even wear on our tires. Overall, with the airbag system, we're going to help save the life of our truck and just make it safer heading down the road. Another great thing that I really like about the Air Lift system is that we've got dual inflation valves here on the back of the vehicle. This allows us to adjust our airbags independently side to side. It's not always going to be a trailer we're hooked up to where it's spreading that out evenly. Maybe it's an in-bed camper just hauling a load down the street. Might have heavier items on one side than the other. These will allow individual adjustments so we can get it balanced out exactly where we want it to have everything nice and even across the rear of the vehicle. Now airbag kits like this do a great job of helping us to maximize the safe load handling capability of our trucks. So whatever our truck's rated for, we're going to be able to get right back up to that number without having to have that major sag that we get on that rear end. Now these are rated for up to 100 pounds of pressure down to a minimum of 5 psi. Now our first step is going to be to remove our original jounce bumpers. We've got a bolt on each side of it. A little bit of spray lubricant. These are going to be the exact same on both sides. They're going to be located in the same spot. Now our best bet here is going to be an impact. We're going to use a 15 millimeter and get it removed. Now if you happen to break it off, it's not a big deal. We'll be able to repair that with parts that come with the kit. Now to install our upper brackets, we want to grab the ones that have the double holes in them, and these oblong holes are going to be a little bit smaller. There's one that's got a longer set. We'll bring these up. We're going to use our cap head screws. These will be the ones that are slightly longer with the more coarse threads. We'll just line up the holes in the plate with the hole where our jounce bumper came out of. Get those threaded in. Now we'll snug those down and torque them to the specifications listed in the instructions. Now when you have a broken off bolt, what we're going to do is bring our plate up. You can reposition those if you want, but we'll just push them up out of the way. Place our bolt through the one. Hopefully you have one that didn't break. we're just going to snug that down so that the oblong hole lines up with our old bolt location there. Just verify that that old bolt stuck right up in there, and then we'll mark the hole just in front of it. Now with that marked out, let's remove our plate. Now we're going to use a center punch, and we're going to mark that location. And then we're going to use a couple different size drill bits and step our way up to a 5/16. All right, now with that hole drilled out, let's get our plate put back into position here. Just like before, I want to try to line it up and snug it down so we have a good straight shot with our self-tapping bolt. All right, now we'll slowly start to run that in, and it's going to tap the threads itself. Now we need to get those two torqued down. Now we're going to start assembling our airbags. And here you can see how the airbag's actually going to work. This is neat, the double convoluted design of the airbag. Now for the assembly, we want to take our 90-degree swivel fitting here. We're going to place this in. Once it comes down and stops, we want to go a full turn and a half. We have our one turn, another half a turn there. Be able to rotate that out that way. Now we'll bring the lower part of the upper bracket. These are going to have the oblong holes in it, which you can see there. Put our roll plate down on top. Upper bracket goes down. Then we're going to take the shorter cap head screws. These have much finer threads than what we use to mount the upper brackets to the frame with, and these are going to get mounted to our airbag. Once we have these snugged up, we'll want to look in our instructions once again, get the torque specifications, and get them torqued down. Alright, now we can flip this over. I like to use a roll plate just to kind of go underneath there, give us room for that fitting to sit in. We're going to bring in our lower brackets. Now, these need to be offset. So your air fitting's pointing that way, so it's pointing towards me now. We want to offset our brackets that same direction, just like that. Again, we're going to need a roll plate on there. Drop it on. These are holes C towards the larger square. B and A, we want to use holes A. Now we can take two of our carriage bolts. We're going to place these up through the lower bracket. We want to be right there by the holes listed as A. It's closest to those smaller square openings. This needs to offset away from the direction that our elbow's facing. So our elbow's facing out that side on the bottom of the bag. We want the offset to be the opposite direction of that. We'll torque those down per our instructions. Alright, and that'll take care of assembly of the one side here. Just need to do that same thing for the other side. Now we can place our air spring up into position. We're going to use the 1¼ inch long carriage bolts. Those are going to come down through our upper plate we installed earlier. Like that. Now we'll raise the bag into position. Then we'll want to install a flat washer and a nylon lock washer on each of those. We're going to leave these loose, just hand tight. We'll do the same thing for our passenger side. Now we'll grab the 4 remaining carriage bolts. We want these to come down through. They're going to set in those longer holes on each side. And now we're just going to bring our axle up so it matches the bottom side there. So we'll use some jack stands and then just lift on those to bring it up. Now you'll see here on our passenger side, this portion of the brake line is very close to the axle and this portion steps out. So this bolt needs to come down behind it while this bolt needs to come out on this side of it. On the driver's side here, you'll see these are both going to fit down behind that brake line. Now we're going to take our axle straps, we're going to bring those up on those carriage bolts. Onto those we'll add a flat washer, and then one of our nylon locking nuts. Now with our axle straps on, we're ready to get our upper plates aligned. So we want to line up these edges so they match. And then we're going to snug these down a little bit. Now we'll torque those to specification. Now as we're snugging these down, we just want to make sure our airbag stays in line. We'll bring these clamps up to hold it securely. Now let's get our heat shield kind of positioned so we know where we want it here. What we're going to do is just bend those tabs up and then back over about halfway through. We're going to bring that up and mount it right up here on the exhaust. It's about like that. And that's just going to protect our airbag from any heat generated by that. Got a couple of worm gear clamps here. I just want to get these opened up, bring them around and put them back together. So make sure you got clearance around the airbag and its bracket. And then we'll be able to flex that. Just want to create a little gap in between the exhaust itself and the airbag. We can kind of position that so we got plenty of space. All right, now I'm going to measure here on the back side down from the top for my Airline fittings. We're going to be putting these in just to the left of the license plate if we're looking toward the back. Now I'm just going to make a straight line there. And we'll put these in about 1 inch apart. Now we'll grab a 5/16 inch drill bit. We want to get that drilled out. Now our Airlines are going to have the Schrader valves already attached. So what we'll do, thread on one of the nuts that comes with the kit. Also going to place on one of the serrated washers. You're going to do that to both ends. Now I've just cut this right in the middle. That way I can run one to one side and one to the other. You can do them individually if you want. It just always seems to work out a little quicker when we go this route. We're going to place them in like that, then we can head to the outside. Here we're going to push on a rubber washer. You may have to hold from the back if it doesn't slide on. Then we'll place on a flat washer, another one of our nuts. All right, we'll just run those down hand tight. You don't really need to over tighten them. And then you can see we can put those caps right over the end. That's going to give us a very quick, easy access area to be able to air up those airbags anytime we need to. Now I'm going to take my passenger side line. I can run it right up over these. These are kind of where the spare tire rests up in there. We just want to be careful as we're running this not to put any scrapes in the line itself. If we put any deep gouges in there, any scratches, it's almost impossible to get the system to seal up. So we'll run that right up to the top of the airbag there. Now once I have it ran, I like to use some zip ties to kind of go through and get everything secured off, keep it in one spot, keep it from moving around. You can see the ones provided here are just barely long enough to go around there. what we'll do is use one a little bit longer here. It's not provided, but you can just have a few on hand. Now right up here on this hat channel, if you put a little bend in your zip tie, push it through there, you should get it to come down out of there. That'll give us another good anchor point. Now we've got a little extra piece of heat shield here. Let's slide that down on our Airline. That'll give us some protection from the exhaust here. We'll trim off our Airline there and get it put into place. Now we're going to use part number AL10530 to make our cut. It's a 1/4 inch tubing cutter. Just need to really make sure this is nice and flush so it'll seal up. Slide that right into the fitting. I want to be sure we push. Usually it takes twice. You have a little semi-click and then a full click go in and get it nice and secure. You should then be able to pull on it without it coming out. Now we're going to run our passenger side over kind of in the same manner. I'm going to follow along with this wire loom that goes up the driver's side here. Should keep it out of the way in a safe area. Now we can trim this one off to the length we need. We can get it slid in. Zip tie that off, and now as we pressurize the system, we're going to see the airbags do their thing and begin to lift the truck. Now these inflate a lot quicker than, let's say, like a car tire would, because there's a lot less capacity in them. Let's bring them up to about 30 psi and we'll check for leaks. We'll test it out. Spray both of our elbows down really well. Give it a few minutes and make sure we don't have any bubbles form. You'll see no new bubbles forming, indicates that we don't have any leaks. Same thing on both sides there. Let's head on out to the trailer. We'll hook it back up and see where we need to be PSI wise to level that back out. And that'll complete our installation of the Air Lift LoadLifter 5000 Ultimate Air Helper Springs, part number AL88257 on our 2006 Ram 1500.
Click the link below to shop, learn more, or visit us at etrailer.com.